Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be concluding our study of ancient Rome by talking about the major contributions of ancient Rome. We'll also probably have some more listening and learning riddles that we do so that you can review the riddles for your assessment. But listen for the words engineering, which is work that involves designing and building things, manufacturing things. Okay, feats are acts of courage, strength, or skill. Legacy is something that is passed down or that remains from someone's past, or an inheritance. A heritage is a legacy. Thrive, to develop successfully, to prosper or grow. All of those vocabulary words you will hear. Last time we talked about why the Roman Empire split into two parts. And it really split because it was too vast and complex to be ruled by only one emperor. The splitting of the empire, though, is part of the decline of the Roman Empire. The decline of Rome occurred over the course of a few hundred years. Do you remember which part of the empire lasted for the longest after the split? The Eastern Roman Empire, later called the Byzantine Empire, that was centered in Constantinople. You've heard about many people, events, and contributions from thousands of years ago. And despite being developed such a long time ago, many things in ancient Roman civilization have shaped our own culture today. Listen carefully today as we read to learn more about what Rome's lasting contributions have been to current civilizations, including our own. 500 years ago, or at AD 500, this Western civilization, Western empire, was pretty much over. It had sort of collapsed on itself into a smaller area called Italy, and just Rome, the city itself. So it grew to a vast area, but it shrank back down. Rome didn't go completely away. Rome is still there, but it was not the glorious city and empire and powerful place that it had been for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Constantinople sort of took over as the Byzantine empire, and the emperors continued in Constantinople for several more hundred of years. And then we will learn about the lasting contributions that the world still benefits from today because of the ancient Roman civilization. What made the Roman civilization so memorable? That's a fair question to consider as you think back on all the things you've learned about Rome and the Roman Empire. Your first thought might be that their army is what made them so strong. That's true, but it is not the whole truth. Roman engineering, their ability to invent and build things, also made them memorable. So if we need to make a list of things that made them memorable, the first thing might be their army. Second thing might be their engineering. Their ability to invent and build things also made them memorable. Romans built strong city walls, bridges, and roads, ingenious aqueducts, sewer and heating systems, and public baths, and all sorts of other impressive creation. Without these feats of engineering, the Romans would not have been able to hold on to power and expand as much as they did. The people of Rome made it memorable as well. The Romans, with their ingenious inventions that improved everyday life in the Roman military, helped the Roman culture survive and thrive even after the fall of the Roman Empire. So the people themselves. While the Romans were by no means the only civilization in the world at the time, they were one of the most advanced and impressive civilizations that the world has ever known. The Roman Empire appeared to some like a bright light in a dark, dangerous world. In a time when a farm, village, or city could be invaded and destroyed at any time by any number of terrifying enemies, the Romans brought law, order, and security to many people. They brought technology and knowledge to make life easier, safer, and healthier. They established markets and ports to trade goods from all over the world, really. The Romans' respect for knowledge and history contributed to their success as well. That could be number 4 on the list. So, knowledge, history, that would involve kids going to school and learning the history and learning the arts. The Romans' respect for knowledge and history contributed to their success as well. They were highly creative artists and writers. During the days of the Republic, Roman historians and artists worked to record Rome's story. They wrote in detail about Rome's wars and heroes, as well as its complex and fascinating web of politics. You really only learned about a few Roman leaders and emperors, but there were more than 200 Roman emperors, including those of the Eastern Empire. Every one of those emperors has a unique story. We learned about Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar, Nero, Constantine, and Justinian. Okay, but there were literally hundreds of other Roman emperors and leaders. You can also find, some of these emperors were brave and kind, some were wicked and greedy. You can also find interesting biographies about famous Roman generals, senators, philosophers, and even enemies. And the best part is that so many of these stories were written by the Romans themselves. You could spend the rest of your life reading about ancient Rome and Romans. It's a really good reason to learn Latin so that you can read the Romans' stories about themselves in their own language. Roman artists left us a wonderful trail of clues about Roman history and culture. There are many artifacts scattered throughout the vast Roman Empire, including sculptures, monuments, temples, mosaics, tools, weapons, and really even entire cities like Pompeii. As you have heard, these remains have helped archaeologists gain a detailed picture of what life was like in ancient Rome. Perhaps Rome's most important legacy or contribution to the world is the spread of the Latin language. So that would probably be, we could have 4 was arts and knowledge. 5 would be the Latin language. The use of Latin continued in Europe long after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Although no one really speaks Latin as an everyday language anymore, it is still the official language of the Roman Catholic Church. If you happen to attend a Roman Catholic church, you may hear a priest saying some prayers in Latin. Latin is also absorbed into other languages. Today, Latin is the foundation of the Romance languages. Romance languages include Italian, Spanish, and French, just to name a few. These languages are similar because they are based on the form of Latin used by the Romans. The English writing system, the very same letters that you read and write each day, are based on the Latin writing system. Many English words consist of Latin roots, prefixes, and suffixes. So if you learn the prefix re as in republic or un as in uncivilized, you know a little bit of Latin. How cool is that? For centuries, Latin was the language used by scholars. Those are people in schools, scientists, and other intellectuals. In some cases, Latin is still being used to this day. If you become a doctor or a scientist of any kind, you will need to learn some Latin because so many of the special scientific names that you need to know for everything from body parts to bugs are based on Latin words. The Roman calendar. Let me show you this. These are the letters. You recognize those letters because those are the same letters that we use today, even though those were carved 2,000 years ago. They don't use very good spaces between their words. Let me remind you that we need to do that. This looks interesting. Let's read about this. We can also thank the Romans for the calendar we follow. So this will be number 6 if we're making a list. As far back as 750 BC, before Christ, 750 BC is the time of Romulus and Remus, the Romans created the Roman calendar. The Roman calendar had only 10 months, and it only counted 304 days. We have 365. There are many months. They are listed here in the ancient Roman calendar. Listen closely and see how many sound familiar to you. Martius, Aprilis, Maius, Junius, Quintilius, Sextilius, September, October, November, December. The names of the months we use now are very similar to the names used by the early Romans, really almost 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago, that's a long time. Later, the Roman calendar was replaced by the Julian calendar. Who do you think might have made that? Emperor Julius Caesar. It received its name from Julius Caesar himself. The Julian calendar included 12 months, as many as we have now, including January and February. Some of the months are named after important Roman gods. For instance, March is named after Mars, the god of war. And now we use what is known as the Gregorian calendar, which is very similar to the Julian calendar. This calendar was developed by Pope Gregory the 13th about 500 years ago in Italy. When the Gregorian calendar was developed, some of the names of the months changed as well. Can you guess where the months of July and August got their name? July, Julius Caesar. August, Augustus Caesar. Very interesting. Our calendar. The government of the United States of America is a republic, and America's founding fathers got a lot of ideas for developing the American government from the Roman Republic and Greek ideas about democracy. So this would be in our list, number 7, ideas about the government. One idea our founding fathers adopted from the Romans was including a Senate as part of our American government. They also adopted the idea of checks and balances and veto power. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., you may notice that many of the buildings there look very similar to ancient Greek and Roman buildings. The United States Supreme Court building is one of the best examples. This building looks like it could be in Rome or Greece. Designed on purpose to remind Americans where we got our ideas for our government of democracy, where people vote and they vote for people to represent them in a republic. Okay. Speaking of the Supreme Court, Latin is a very useful language to learn if you ever want to be a lawyer or a judge, because much of the American legal system is based on the very same language and legal traditions used by Roman judges thousands of years ago. Indeed, the word justice itself comes from the word justus, meaning fair or correct. By studying Rome, the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, and ancient Roman civilization, we aren't just learning interesting facts about people who lived long ago. The study of Rome actually teaches us about ourselves. 3,000 years after the founding of Rome, 2,000 years after Augustus Caesar, and 500 years after the death of the last Byzantine emperor, Roman culture, language, and history continue to influence our daily lives. Ancient Roman cities may be in ruins, but Roman civilization will continue to impact the world for many years to come. I think this picture of this ancient Roman road is amazing. This road, built 2,000 years ago, is in better shape than a lot of the roads around where we live that get potholes and need to be repaired so often. So, why is ancient Rome considered a civilization? Well, ancient Rome consisted of a group of people living together in a well-ordered way. Can you list off all the reasons they lived, or all the ways that they lived together in a well-organized way? They built cities. They had a writing system. They wrote in Latin, right? They had leaders and laws. We learned about some of the leaders and laws. They practiced religions, and we learned about how religions changed throughout the course of the Roman Empire. They grew their own food by farming, and they had to import a lot of food from other areas. We learned that as well. They had different people doing different jobs: merchants, soldiers, craftsmen, artists, many different, people who were elected to be senators, many different jobs. So what feats of Roman engineering helped the Roman civilization thrive? So if you think that engineering was one of the most important contributions that ancient Rome had, you would mention things like concrete. Okay. Roman invention that we still use today. These roads, look at this picture of this road. Aqueducts to bring clean water into the city. You cannot have a big city if you do not have clean water. People would die of disease. And the same is true for sewers systems. If you have a big city without a sewer system, you are waiting for disease to kill off your population. But they also had heating systems and public baths, archways that allowed architects to design buildings for huge gatherings of people, bridges to move from one area of the world to another across the water. Huge contribution through engineering. What are some of the factors that you have learned about What caused the decline of the Roman Empire? Well, many emperors and senators became greedy and selfish. So if you become greedy and selfish and you're not thinking about the people in your empire, then it will go downhill. Real problems of those real people were ignored. Rome hired mercenaries instead of asking their own citizens to fight for Rome. Citizens of Rome grew weak and lazy. Children barely learned their history of Rome's greatness or power. And really, there were many other things. It divided into two empires. What was the language of the ancient Romans? Latin. And why is the spread of Latin important to the world today? Well, it influenced many Romance languages like Italian, French, and Spanish, just to name a few. The English writing system is based on Latin. Many words, including scientific and legal words that doctors, scientists, and lawyers use, are based on Latin. What are some of the clues that Romans have left behind that help archaeologists learn about their culture? Sculptures, monuments, temples, mosaics, tools, weapons, entire cities are some of the things that have been left behind, but we have a lot of their own libraries, volumes of books that have been written by Romans about Romans in their original Latin language gives us a lot of insight into what they thought was important, who they thought were important, what they valued in their culture. How is the original Roman calendar different from the Julian and Gregorian calendars? The original Roman calendar only had 10 months and 305 days. Some of the months had different names. Name a Roman leader that you have learned about and share something for which he is remembered. Might be somebody that you really like and you like what they did, or it could be somebody that you really don't like and you didn't like what they did, but you remember it. It's memorable. So, what do you think is the most meaningful legacy left behind by the Roman Empire? And you remember we talked about what a legacy is something that is passed down or something that remains from somebody's past. What have we inherited? What is the heritage from ancient Rome that we still have? Remember, we listed 7 contributions. Which contribution do you feel is the most important? The army, engineering, the people themselves, their respect for history and knowledge and things that they wrote down, their politics, Latin language, the calendar. Did I say government already? I think I did. Which of those do you really feel is the most important? It's hard for me to choose just one. But be able to list off 3 reasons why you think it is most important. For instance, you would say, I think, this is your opinion. Remember, if you're saying that you think, you would say, just make a statement of fact that really is your opinion. The government organization that the Romans had is the most important lasting contribution that they have. And let me give you 3 reasons why. Be able to tell me those 3 reasons. Or you could say, Our English writing system comes from ancient Latin. I think that the most important contribution that we still have from ancient Rome is the language that we still use. So then you can tell about the fact that Italian and Spanish and French are all parts of those lasting contribution, and our writing system. We write the same letters every day that little kids, students in ancient Rome wrote. You're writing the same thing. That's pretty amazing. That has lasted for more than 2,000 years, and it's a big deal. Be able to choose a contribution and come up with at least 3 really good reasons to support why you feel like that is the most lasting contribution.